If you know the fish tank, then you also have to know our friends at Planet Protein.
That's right, Big Seth, and Planet Protein is back and better than ever. They're gearing up for the momentous release of their Chocolate Magic Protein Shake, now completely sugar-free and free of sugar alcohols.
But still the same great taste, Juice. And Planet Protein is locally manufactured right here in South Florida. And to top it off, the new Chocolate Magic 2-pound bags feature a wooden scoop and eco-conscious packaging to protect our beautiful oceans.
Hey, no doubt, Seth. In fact, they're so local that my man Anthony, the COO of Planet Protein, is here to tell you why their product is not just good, but good for you.
That's right. Thanks for having me. Had to come down and tell it like it is. We produce Chocolate Magic right here in South Florida with our community in mind on the inside and outside of the bag. Eco-conscious materials, only 8 real ingredients, 4 of which are superfoods, put you in the prime position to conquer your day.
So if you're ready to live a clean and ethical nutritional lifestyle, then visit planetprotein.com now. And remember to use the code FISHTANK to receive 20% off all of your Planet Protein purchases.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at planet_protein.
Bam!
You're now diving into the fish tank.
Dive up in that fish tank. Who that? Sitting down with Seth Living, OJ, Juice Man, ooh, and this is strictly for them true fans, Dolphins, number one. Of course, y'all, this ain't no ordinary sports talk. Dive up in that fish tank.
Welcome back to the Fish Tank here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Seth Levitt with none other than the man, OJ McDuffie. Juice, how we doing today?
What's up, Big Seth?
I'm excited about today's guest. You know, I always start that way, but
Yeah,
we've
but
been hearing about this guy for a long time.
I've known about this guy for a long time, and I couldn't wait to get him in the tank, man.
Man, I didn't know if it was possible. Didn't know he was still local.
Right.
And I know he's come up in a lot of different episodes. But,
Yeah.
but we have an absolute legend in the tank. Bobby Monica, welcome to the tank, brother.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Great to have
be
you,
here,
man.
Yeah, man. So, Bobby, it's been a while since we both worked for the Dolphins, but I remember coming in as a young jit in 1993, and as you was the equipment manager, man, it was eye-opening for me walking in that locker room, bro. It really was, man. And you've been there for 13 years. You were there from 1990 to 93 pretty much, right?
Yeah, after 93, I went to Jacksonville.
That's right. And to walk in that locker room, man, I realized that, Shula was the head man, but you were the guy that I really need to get to know up in there.
That was Bobby's locker room?
Oh, Bobby owned that locker room, man. And I knew that at Penn State. I got to know the equipment guys, because if you ever want anything, the equipment room is the way to go for anything, not just equipment, but just anything. And Bobby was that guy, man. So it was eye-opening for me, and it was a lot of fun. But going there and see Danny and Irvin Fryer and those guys, Bobby's the guy I had to get to know, Seth.
It was fun, man. It was fun. Coach Shula didn't come down there much.
No.
When he walked through, it was his locker room when he walked through. But just try to make it comfortable for the guys. They got so much to do and so much on their mind. We try to have a good time and make it light for them. Make everything as easy as we could for them.
Yeah, and then before that, I got there at St. Thomas time. You know what I mean? And you were at St. Thomas for a decade plus at that point,
man. 1980, man.
Yeah.
It was like 2x4s and chicken wire.
Right. Tell us a little bit about that whole situation and how you have to navigate through all that with all the stuff you have to do.
I couldn't believe it when I walked in there that it was the undefeated 1972 Dolphins trained in this place. I mean, we kept cats in the ceiling because of the rats. I had rats eat the collar out of my suit coat, droppings on the practice uniform. I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. A cat dropped through the ceiling during a meeting one time.
Oh, so you're not bullshitting. Like you literally had cats up.
I swear to God. No, it was horrible. And it was blue and a red carpet when I got there because that was the school had that paint. And
the Bobcats,
it used to be an old, the Bobcats. It used to be an old maintenance shed. And the meeting room was in an old maintenance in the garage. They turned it in. I mean, it was horrible, man. It was horrible. Now you saw Joey's setup down there now, the laundry setup, right?
Right.
And you could ask Tony this. I had 2 washers, 35-pound washers, and 1 dryer.
Oh, Lord.
We used to sit out on that picnic table till 2 o'clock in the morning waiting for loads to flip.
Right.
Because we didn't have mesh bags. We didn't have the loops back then. Everybody had a number on it. They didn't have nothing. They had shorts, socks. On the nameplates were athletic tape,
right,
magic marker. And then the guy that I worked for, Danny Dow, he was the head guy for 4 years. I worked for him for 4 years. He was there 22 years. He used to write 2L or 2S, like that means 2 long pairs of socks. And we go around with public shopping carts filled with laundry, man.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it was crazy.
So these guys are spoiled now, these equipment managers.
Oh, my God. The players.
The players.
Well, the
That's
players
right.
for
Guys are
sure.
still
We
doing
know
the
that.
same. Yeah, washers and dryers and the whole setup.
Yeah. You look at the lockers now. I mean, I think there was like fold-up chairs and hooks, or maybe nails for equipment or uniforms and stuff like that.
Bo tells a great story. He said when he got there, he comes in, he goes, "Hey man, I need another hook," and the guy Danny Dow came in with a hammer and a nail, put another nail in there. So I used to get cut off at the end of the season. So I was going to school for sports administration at Biscayne, and so I begged Coach Shula. I said, "Let me get on 2 weeks. I'll paint the whole place." So I painted the locker room. I painted the walls white, painted the lockers aqua. I put that stripe going around, and they changed the carpet to some cheap shit that they got.
Right.
Can you say shit on here?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
absolutely.
say whatever you want, man.
All the shit you want.
So I got 2 weeks pay because, I mean, if you look at my NFL pension, my first year was $0. My second year was $600. I got more in tips from the guys than I did my pay.
Right.
You know?
Damn, man.
Back when they used to tip.
Yeah. I was that guy. I was an ante-up guy, too. I became the ante-up guy because, guys were acting a little stupid, man. Making all this money. You got the guys that, like yourselves, that make us look really good and make it look easy for us, and then these guys get a little stingy around the holidays. Got to ante them up, man.
Well, what happened was they started getting really spoiled in college, really spoiled in college.
Yeah, college changed everything.
So,
it's even worse now.
Tell me, I've had a guy tell me that's your job. Oh, yeah?
Now, you don't talk to Bobby like that. You don't get shit.
Well.
You
See the
don't
look
get
on his
shit with
face when
Bobby.
he even just reliving that moment right now.
That's the thing about Bobby. Bobby doesn't care if you're the first overall pick or you're an undrafted free agent. He ain't taking shit from anybody, bro. Nobody. It doesn't matter, man.
But,
and that's the way it should be. I mean, the respect, you're supposed to respect is earned and not given. And that's how he
But I
handles
didn't
it.
treat nobody different either. Danny got special treatment. He had the 2 lockers and he sat down when he was picking out his locker at the new place. He's sitting there at the locker and he's looking back to my window where my office was, right? And he wanted to be able to see if I could see him at his locker, because he'd sit there and we'd put everything in everybody's locker that night before, right? For practice the next day. And he'd be laying right there in his locker and he'd be going, "Oh, where's my shit?" Exactly. And we had to have a guy run out and bring him his stuff.
So that he chose that spot, which we always talk about as prime real estate, so that you could see him from the desk.
So he could wave.
Exactly. Right. And it's quickest to the training room. It's quickest to the showers, pretty much. And he's got that view of Bobby.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. You weren't far from that corner either.
Well, I inherited that spot, you know what I mean? Because all the other receivers got that spot.
Yeah.
And then once they started, leaving, Tony Martin, those guys, I started moving up.
Next man up.
Like the Jeffersons, man.
That's right. We did a locker room in groups, you try to keep it in groups of position,
Sure.
But once a month, Claire would bring, Danny would go, or Claire would call me and say, "Hey, go on Danny's truck. There's a big bag out there." Because sometimes he'd just get in his car and go home, and he'd wear the practice stuff home. Right. She'd wash it and fold it, and it smelled like, like real clothes. And he'd go in there and there'd be a giant, hefty trash bag full of practice clothes.
That's hilarious. Needed to bring her on the staff.
Oh, my God.
See, that's the thing about Danny. See, everybody else, he's talking about those mesh bags earlier. Everybody put your own shit in your mesh bag, and it all got washed at one time, in that mesh bag. Danny just threw his shit like,
wherever.
It was loose. It was loose all the time. You know what I mean? So it was, but he's Danny Marino. I get it. Sometimes, I get it, man. It was all good, man.
Well, by the time I got to the team in 94 for my internship year, Bobby was already in Jacksonville for a couple
serving
of years.
a 4-year sentence in Jacksonville with Coach Coughlin.
4-year bid, huh?
But and Tony Egwis was the head guy at that point in time. But I had heard so many stories, particularly from Tony, who obviously came up under you. I had heard so many stories. I felt like I knew Bobby, even though I had never met him yet.
Right.
Obviously I know you now. And it was just legendary. And you already kind of alluded to it. But the one thing that was obvious was that the relationship that you and Danny had was a very special one. Talk about how that came to be.
Well, I was one of the first guys he met. I don't remember if I picked him up at the airport or not, but, my memory's going a little bit. But
CTE? Is it?
I don't. Could have been, man. I played a little college,
There you go. Never know when it starts.
Man,
right.
I snapped for punts. I made travel squad at Furman, snapping punts as a freshman. And that year you could line up.
Right on the head. Everyone knows it.
I snapped the ball. I looked up. That guy had a 20-yard sprint, hit me dead in the middle of the head. I was seeing them white stars.
You got there right.
So anyway, Danny was, it was a thing. Italian kid, from
Pittsburgh,
and he just, it was fun, man. It was fun because he came in there he said he was the man right from the start,
I love
and proved
that.
it right from the start. I mean, cats were mini camp, had dents in their bruises on their chest from him throwing the ball. They couldn't believe it. I mean, he'd throw it where you're not supposed to throw it, you know?
And didn't care.
Didn't give a shit. It was unbelievable.
And you love that cockiness, that bravado.
Oh, man. I grew up with all cats like that, you know? So it was like, you know, Gary Stevens used to come in the huddle and practice with a cigarette. Back then, I had ashtrays in lockers back then, man, you know? I mean, it was old school. So Gary come in there Gary come in with a cigarette in the huddle, and Danny goes, "Get the fuck out of my huddle."
It's crazy
awesome.
how the times have changed with that shit,
Oh,
man.
it was great,
oh,
man.
Oh, man. But Danny he did have that swagger, and his swagger was there all 17 years. You know what I mean? And that's what I loved about it, man. But that relationship in that locker room, Seth, man, with him. And I remember, you know, the new locker room in Davie was like so unbelievable compared to where we were, you know, in St. Thomas. And, you know, everybody had such space that you could have like radios in there, right? And so I'm over there with the receivers. You know, we're all more like hip hop. Danny's over there pretty much with his two lockers. And speaking of the two lockers, we're in training camp. This is like probably lockers with like 70, 60 some people. And there's like 80 some people there.
10 guys with no locker.
Doubled up. There's some guys that are doubled up, you know, and Danny's got two wide open. Yeah, exactly right.
I tell you what, man, the best thing about him is that when he came in as a kid. I remember when they put him in the game, I used to bring the water out when I was assistant. I used to bring the water out, and even the head guy, the first couple of years, I go in timeouts and bring water out and stuff, you know, just so I could get in the middle of the field with all the people and shit and listen to stuff going on, you know, like,
I got the water. I got the
yeah. So, I mean, he came in the huddle and he was like, you know, the guys were talking. This is a great one. Dwight Stevenson's there, right? And he's out of breath, right? And you know, Ed Newman, right?
Yep.
So Ed's a federal judge, right?
Yeah,
but he's really smart. And he was talking like, you know, I'm sorry, I missed my technique on this guy and I should have done it. And Dwight's over there huffing and puffing. And Dwight's going, shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up, man. And Danny comes in and he goes, shut the fuck up. You know, and boom, everybody shut up. Touchdown. You know, that was it, man. I forget. Was it Oakland or something?
Yeah. You know, and that's the crazy part.
His first game?
I think it was.
I know his first touchdown pass was Oakland.
Yeah,
I think
that was it. Yeah.
in the corner of the end zone.
Shut the fuck up, Ed.
You know, and that's the crazy part. He was saying that to those veteran guys that were around, you know, well before he got there.
Yeah.
But he was saying the same shit when we got there. He was telling the huddle to shut the fuck up. And that's one of those things about quarterbacks that, you know, we've heard has been lacking for some of our quarterbacks. And that's that commanding the huddle and, you know, earning that respect from the players around you, especially veteran guys. And Danny had that, man. He had it right away.
Man, remember, they'd send cats in the game, right? And the guy would get to the numbers, and he'd stand up at a huddle and go like this,
wave him back.
And wave him back. And the guy's like, Coach Schuler saying, get in. And he's going, oh, it was the funniest thing going, man. He'd wave him back to the sideline.
That's awesome. So, and again, you guys were close. You're talking about that he did get some preferential treatment every now and then, but I'm sure you busted his balls too, just like everybody else's.
Oh, yeah.
Give us an example of something you might have done.
Let me
To
think.
get
I
to
gotta
Danny.
think of that. I gotta think of that. You know what, though? What I was going to say earlier was I got off track on it. But as far as, you know, with me, because I want to fight every week, somebody says, oh, yeah, I met him and he's it. You know,
Right.
They probably stuck a thing in his face while he's eating with his family.
Yep.
So he ain't changed since the day I met him. You know, I swear to all
Great
the stuff,
guy, man. People
all
don't-
the stuff he's done, all the money, whatever you could say, you know, he hasn't changed since the day I met him.
You know,
You know?
I hear you on that, man. I hear that all the time as well, man. And you're right. The timing a lot of times is what bothers, you know, Danny. You know, Danny's the nicest guy. I've never seen him turn anything down. But if he's eating dinner out with his family, and then all of a sudden he's an asshole because he didn't
But he's
sign
still
something
good
for
at
you,
it, though. He still
to this
takes
day,
care of it,
man,
though.
all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah,
All
well,
day.
I know the
got
other
one.
thing with him is if there's 500 people there and
He
he's
doesn't
like,
want
look,
it, right.
I could sign 300 and then 200 people think I'm an asshole, so
Yeah.
I'd rather sign everything or nothing.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and-
Ralph's fault. Let's blame it on Ralph.
Yeah, that's cool. Ralph, yeah, that's right.
I got one. I'm thinking right now is he got a concussion in one game, and so he would sit with me on the plane. We had seats in between, right? So
Yep.
I would send the clubby out at halftime and get whatever the local place was. I'd get food from there. So we get let me see, we go to Seattle. I'd get Dungeness crabs. We go to Philly. I sent the guy out for 30 cheesesteaks, and then I'd get pretzels coming out of the tunnel with a vet. You know, all over. We
That was
get
great,
different
man.
food. So he'd sit here. So he got a concussion. He's sitting there. So I was like, I leaned over. And I said, hey, bro. I said, you know, you ain't got to hit me with that now. I said, we'll do it when you feel better. He goes, what? I said, that 200 I lent you. He goes, you did? You get what? He goes, yeah. I said, but don't worry about it. Don't do that. He went in his pocket and gave me $200, man.
Caught him while he was a little dinged up.
Yeah. I gave it back to him, though.
Eventually.
Yeah, he throws, you guys eating? What are you guys doing for lunch? Remember? Because we didn't have no cafeteria. They had a cafeteria, but we were working.
Right.
So I had lunch guys coming in at Biscayne. Each day we had a different menu for the couple of the guys, the guys that broke us off and our staff. So he goes, what are you guys doing for lunch? And he give me $100 bill. Go get lunch for the guys.
That's
all
awesome.
the time, man.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, he's that dude. He still is that dude, like you said, Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Tony Eguez a little earlier. I know Tony came in after you as the head equipment manager. I think Joe.
Tony worked for me.
He worked for you. And we talked to Tony in season 1 here, right on the
had him in the tank.
And we talked about his acting skills a little bit on any given Sunday. But if I look at your IMDb page, you did a little acting first. Miami Vice?
Tony's an amateur compared to me, man. I got a SAG card, too.
That's what I'm talking about. So tell me about your experience with Miami Vice.
He says known for his role in Miami Vice.
Exactly right.
You could have done a whole show with Tony telling you how I used to fuck with him. Can I say fuck?
Yeah, you say whatever you want, Bobby.
I tortured him when he was young, But he turned out to be the best cat in the league.
He did a great job.
I mean, the attention to detail like you can't imagine. And then Joey worked for him. Joey was with me a little while and he quit. But Joey the same way, man. These cats are the best in the league. Unbelievable.
Great guys.
But I did. We were playing the Orange Bowl. And there was a guy that was a local guy that used to work with NFL Films locally. I think he runs the Seaquarium now or something. Toby.
Oh, he did. He did PR for the Seaquarium for a long time.
Right?
Yeah, Toby Ross.
Yeah, Toby Ross. I think it was. Yeah. So Toby was on the sidelines every game at the Orange Bowl. So Miami Vice was in its heyday, and so they bring in a guest producer every year, every 2 weeks or so. So they bring this John Nicolella who did Saturday Night Fever and stuff like that. So he's standing on the sidelines, and I'm over there bullshitting with him. So
you hear all the vowels in that last name, right?
Yeah. So Toby goes, hey John, he goes, get Bobby in it. So he goes, all right, come down, read for a part. So I drove down to the Alexander Hotel down on the beach, and I'm waiting out there, and I got a bartender. It's a bartender. So I read the parts. He goes, you got it. So I went down.
That was it.
Yeah. So we shot. It was a 3-day shoot. I got paid for 3 days. It was supposed to be the hottest day of the year in the scene, but it was the day before a hurricane. So I had to redub it over in Miami Springs at a studio.
They needed your lines over again.
Yeah, some of them. So I got paid for that. I still get checks, man.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
SAG checks,
$1.50.
Yeah,
53 cents.
Yeah, Tony did it right, man. Like, those silver screen checks are a little different.
Yeah,
damn right.
He learned though.
Then I shot Ace Ventura too, but it's so small. I did a scene. I had one line with Michael Keaton, and then but they cut that out. But I'm still in it small, Bobby. So I get paid for that. Oh yeah,
we can't let that happen.
Can't let that happen.
Can't be
I could have won
out
an
of
award for that one. that one line was just classic.
What was the line, Bobby?
Do you remember the line?
I said a name, Sporting Goods. we were in line going into the stadium when Ace Ventura slides up to the stadium sideways.
Yeah.
So he's behind me, and we're walking in. And there's like 2 people in front of me. And I said, Joe Blow, Sporting Goods. And the guy turns around, and then Ace Ventura comes. He goes, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. And he goes, yeah, right. And I'm Batman. And he turns around, and it's Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton is Batman.
Yeah, but they cut
awesome.
it out. I don't know why they cut it out.
That sounds like a good one.
Geez, they fucked the whole movie. That thing could have been something.
Then when Einhorn kicks the ball through the roof down at the marina.
Yeah,
you saw that, right?
Yep,
that was a good kick, right?
Yeah, I thought it was.
That was Pete Stoyanovich dressed up like Einhorn.
What, that Pete?
So wait, Einhorn isn't Finkel.
Finkel isn't Einhorn.
Einhorn is Stoyanovich?
Einhorn is Stoyanovich.
Man, who knew? Who knew? Now, did he get any credit for that?
I'm sure he did. That's where he met his first wife, at the shoot.
Was that right?
Yeah.
One of the extra cheerleaders?
No, man. She was coming. They had public could come in, and they were filling up a couple sections to be in the background. And we were on the field shooting and everything. And this girl and her mother come walking across the thing and down the steps, and the whole place stopped. The whole place.
Damn. So that was
except for Pete,
Mrs. Pete.
Yeah. No, the director sent one of the guys there, go up and get her, put her in the movie.
Damn.
I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was the whole place just stopped. Anyway, so we were talking about Tony. Like I said, you could have done a whole show with Tony on here, man.
So give us an example.
Oh man, he might get pissed. All right, so he was young. He was real young, and very what's the word?
Green, naive.
Yeah, a little naive. Yeah. So let me see. Couple of them. Oh, I got some. Remember the door to the equipment room? You had to go outside to go to the laundry room.
Correct.
And there was this swimming pool there. So it was a swimming pool for the school. So there'd be like students out there sitting out there. So he come in he's in there one time and I got this box in of jocks.
This at St. Thomas.
Yeah. Now nobody wears jocks no more, but
No.
we got this box of jocks. So I said, hey, Tony, I said, try these on. I want to make sure the sizes are working right. So he's standing by my door there. And he puts a jock on over his shorts. I said, come on, man. I'm not going to get the right fit like that. So he takes all his clothes off. He puts a jock on, and I pushed him out the door. And I locked it. And he's banging on there like
You locked the door on him?
He's banging on there like Fred Flintstone.
Oh, God. That's classic. Oh, man. The hacks couldn't get any video of that, huh?
No,
That would have
man.
been.
It was reel to reel.
So it's funny you say that. So I called Tony. I said, hey, Tony, we got Bobby coming in. And I need some intel. Give me some stories.
Oh,
he said, ask him about the jock story, so he has no right to get
Okay,
pissed. All right,
okay,
he opened it up.
good.
But then he said, ask Bobby about the guy in Opelika who wanted to try out as an offensive lineman.
Oh, the crackhead.
Come on.
We had a open tryout. There had to be 120 people. You know, all guys that watch the game and go, oh, that guy sucks.
Right.
I could do that because I used to play in high school. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
There's thousands of them. So they opened it up. 120 something guys come, cut off t-shirts, little short, fat, big, giant, soft. Anybody that ever thought they could play football or had a sniff in high school or whatever.
It's crazy they used to do that.
Yeah, we called it the Gong Show. So Charlie Winter's over there. Now there's a line. There's a group. There had to be, there was like 100 something people going one at a time doing a 40. Charlie Winter's at the end with a stopwatch, and he's going, "Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you." Not what they kept one guy that came the next day, and he did a couple drills the next day. Okay, thanks, see ya. They didn't keep one person from this thing.
Those guys had to hate it.
Yeah. So when it was over, here comes this guy, no shoes, slept in the street. I'm not making fun of the guy,
Right,
but he was home.
Situation is what it is.
And eyes on fire. You know what I mean? Hot coals on a snowman. This guy, he was the so FedEx had this advertising pen that looked like one of the, when they came out with them first little strips that they would mark packages with, the electronic thing.
Right.
So they made it into a pen and they would give it to their clients. It was plastic with a sticker over it. So it made it look like a thing. So he comes to my door and he's doing, yeah, I'm here for a tryout. And I was like, all right, can you run a 40? He goes, yeah, man. So
you didn't tell him, hey, you missed it yesterday. You were like, oh, now we got some
I
shit.
took
here.
him out on the field with that thing, and I was timing him with a fake pen, plastic pen. I made him run about 20 40s.
Oh, damn, Bobby.
It was about 100 degrees out. We were crying.
Oh, this poor guy.
He almost dropped.
Coaching him up, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Poor guy.
I wanted to sign him.
Did you tell him thank you? Did you tell him
Say
thank
he
you?
wanted to sign him.
Did you tell him thank you for coming?
Yeah, oh, yeah. I said, we'll get back to you.
There it is.
Pete.
Stoyanovich is Einhorn.
Yep.
Einhorn is Stoyanovich and Finkel.
That is crazy.
That's too funny, man.
We need that picture.
Yeah, we do. We definitely need that. Damn.
That's some old school stuff
Yeah, we
right
need
there.
that one for sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
That looks like the bartender from Miami Vice right there. There he is.
Hey, so Tony, as long as Tony opened the door, man. All right, so St. Thomas was a religious school, right? So he was taking this one of those Bible courses or something. Where you had to take one.
One of those Bible courses.
So he would leave his books in the equipment room while he was working. The same thing I did when I started. I would take classes and I'd come over and work. So he leaves his book there, and there happened to be some kind of hustlers laying around and stuff some of the players had, right? I cut out all these pictures out of there and I put it all in his book. I slid him in between the pages of his book. So he goes in there to take the final exam and opens his book and all the pictures fall out on the floor.
Tony gets so flustered too,
Oh
man.
my God. So the priest comes over and he's looking at the pictures and kicked him out of the final exam.
Oh, I wonder how he talked himself out of that one.
I don't know.
He had to be crying. I mean, Tony gets so flustered.
He does.
And that's now he does. I can only imagine young Tony Eglis.
Oh man, it's
God.
funny you say that about Tony and the magazines. 'Cause I remember a certain thing called the pouch when I got there.
Oh, shit. He's about lost it.
You were there for the
I was
pouch?
there for the pouch.
You want to hear this? Check this out. So the guy, that sock company I was telling you about, right? I'm calling them up to try and see if they want to do a deal, XFL deal. Because I had this idea in my head about the socks I was telling you. So I'm calling them up and the guy goes, we have this conversation with the owner of the company. And the guy he goes, hey, Bobby, the owner wants to talk to you. So he gets on, he goes, hey, you remember a last name this? And he says the name. And I said, get the hell out of here. That's not your father, is it? His father, I hadn't seen him in 25, 30 years. He was a DEA agent back in, when the cocaine cowboys era, he was undercover. He used to bust all the drug dealers, Colombian drug dealers, and he'd come up to the camp and he'd bring them. That's how we got the pouch from all the drug dealers. I mean, crazy stuff, right?
So what's the pouch?
I can't tell you on the air, man. It was just a collection of photos.
Okay.
Back then it was Polaroids.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
That these drug dealers would have when they got busted.
Right.
It was
And it made its way into the Dolphins equipment room.
Well, yeah,
some
into
of
the
them,
pouch.
some
yeah.
of them made it into the pouch, and also fan mail made it into the pouch.
Yeah.
Some of the
I
fan
get
mail
it.
made it
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
pouch.
some fan mail.
You got something in the mail, you had to turn it over to the pouch, and
Mostly
then
his.
at the end of it, the pouch was destroyed because you can't have that sort of stuff.
At the end
in
of the
locker.
season, you would recycle the
Well,
pouch?
No,
the
pouch was
the pouch
historic.
destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it was historic.
I
Boy,
actually
was it.
threw it out.
Boy, it was
Burn it? Did you burn the
No, I
pouch?
didn't burn it. I threw it out because, things started getting very,
raunchy a little bit.
no, things started getting people, tight,
Right.
The political, what do you call it?
Correct.
Correctness. And
Yep.
Got
They
it.
had to get out of the locker room.
Now, did you
man.
throw it out in
HR.
Tony's backpack?
HR. No, I threw it out when I was in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It made its way up to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
probably a
it
good
was
thing.
it was entertaining. And I mean, here's the thing about it though.
Even said the pouch on it.
Yeah.
Who named it the pouch?
I did.
Okay.
Right. And that's the funny thing, because Coach Shula is serious guy. No nonsense type of guy. Bobby, he likes it. He likes a
little nonsense?
Have a little fun with it, man. So
You know
how was that little yin yang? How was that balance between you and Coach and your relationship with Coach?
Well, it started out, my dad was a coach for 40 years, okay? My dad did the draft for the Packers for 16 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Coach Lombardi had Pasta Azul at my house, you know what I mean? He knew Coach Lombardi, all this stuff. So,
Wow.
but for me, I was working for Don Shula, so it was cool as shit to get yelled at by Don Shula. For the first 10 years, I thought my first name was fucking. So, but the whole idea was, get the job done. Coach wanted you to get it done. Just don't let him find out how you got it done. Sometimes you had to, do stuff. But the best thing I can say about Coach is he ripped your ass, and he was on you all the time and he kept you on your toes. But nobody outside of that team could mess with you. You know what I mean? Right. If somebody came at you that wasn't one of us, he jumped their ass.
So he had your back.
Oh, yeah.
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 Well, I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Coach Shula, man.
First of all, you gotta give Bobby does a great Shula impersonation.
Oh, you gotta
as
call
well.
Eddie White.
Yeah.
Eddie White?
Eddie White's got the
best.
Yeah.
So we're going. Let me see. I first get there and we're playing in Buffalo. Now remember the old Buffalo locker room had the lockers going across ways,
right?
So it kind of split it in two. So it was one of my first games, Monday Night Football, and we had the trunks there. We didn't start picking up laundry till Coach was done with his speech. So we're winning at halftime. We come in, we got roasted. So we end up losing. So it ain't like the Dolphins lost on Monday Night Football. It's the Dolphins fuck Coach Shula, made him look bad on Monday Night Football.
Right.
So he was pissed. So the defense was on the back end, and I'm sitting there in front of, they had stools back then. Bocamper, Betters, Baumhauer, all them guys are sitting in a row on the stools. Everybody's sitting down like this. So I'm sitting on the trunk. I didn't want to open the lid to get the clothes until he was done. So D-Mac and Judson are over on the side. Don McNeil and William Judson. Remember the tape sharks?
Oh, yeah.
they cut the tape.
With the razor blade on?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the guys used to tape their wrists like this, put tape on their wrist.
Right.
So it got kind of rolled up. So I forget who it was. It was McNeil or Judson. They were helping each other. One was helping the other one cut this sticker. So he's got like this. He's going like this. And it catches, the razor catches. Boom! Right up his nose with the razor blade. Oh. So he starts with the high pitch, like, going his nose. Now, instead of just getting a towel and put it over, he goes into the shower that's all tile, and it's echoing.
And blood, screaming.
So Coach Shula comes around the corner, right? And he's like, who the fuck is talking while I'm talking? And the first cat he sees is me sitting on that trunk, and he goes, was it you? And he points in my face. His finger was like an inch from my face and it looked like a big sausage, right? And I was like, so I'm like, I was trying to say, no, sir, and I was like, no, sir, came out real high. And Bo Camper, Bomber, and all them guys fell off the stools into their locker. They were laughing so hard. He went bananas.
That's amazing.
No joke, man.
Oh, my God.
Coach
I was so scared, man.
Yeah.
This is Ricky J. Mark. In a world where sports radio continues to shift around the whims of corporate interests, we understand that the constant, unexpected changes can be exhausting from time to time. So that's why we think you should sit back, relax, and take 5. Reasons, that is. So go ahead, grab your smartphone, and subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Available on virtually every podcast platform. We're South Florida's fastest growing on-demand sports media network, so you decide when you want to tune in. You decide when you want to listen. Because we know your life can be hectic, go ahead, fall in love with our lineup, including 5 on the Floor, 3 Yards Per Carry, The Fish Tank, Light Skinned Opinions, and Cinco Razones, whenever you want. All you need is an internet connection. So go ahead, tune in, try us out. We're by Miami, for Miami, and spreading rapidly throughout South Florida.
On 3 Yards Per Carry, Chris Kaufman had enough.
They churned 26% of the roster days before the game. I mean, it's absolutely, I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anything like that before. And trust me, you haven't seen anything like that. You listener, you have not seen anything like that either. And anybody who says, oh, this is the Patriot way, this is what they do. No, that's bullshit. That is not true. That is not something that the NFL does. It is not something you've ever seen before. It's not something you've seen in New England. No. It's not something you've seen anywhere else. So don't let Brian Flores pull the wool over your eyes and say, oh, turnover in the NFL happens. Turnover, blah, blah, blah. No, bullshit. That's bullshit, folks. Okay. That is a lie. Okay. Yeah. No, they churned over 26% of the roster days before the season began. And that had a drastic effect on the outcome of this game.
Download, subscribe, and listen to us on your favorite podcast provider.
That's interesting that you talk about the Buffalo game, because think about it. All the different places we played at, being at home, for games, or even Buffalo. What were some of the toughest places for you guys when it came to logistics? Like, your Buffalo weather, all the stuff you had to take with you, all, the setup, everything. I know Coach liked to get off the bus right away and then go into the locker room and watch film and then do a walkthrough on the field where we were. Well, that whole logistics stuff had to be a monster for some of those places.
It was the nightmare for us because he had to do a walkthrough at every stadium on a Saturday when we landed. So you had to kind of put the load the way it would get off first and back then we didn't have that. Now you got 20 video trunks. Right. We had a bag of film and 3 projectors and a screen. Wow. So that would come off first, put it on the bus, and they'd go. So now I'm loading the truck. We'd load the truck and we had to hurry up and then we had to go to the stadium. Now we didn't have fax machines back then. We didn't have a diagram of the locker room. We didn't have cell phone. Right. So they would go in and they'd set up a special teams role. They'd watch film in the locker room. And so then we'd get the player bags, which had sweatsuits in them and stuff like that for the walkthrough. And we'd load in, but it was in the dark. Right. So now they turn the lights on and everybody just grab their bag and throw their shit on the floor. And then after hurry up out. And then they come back in and throw their stuff on the floor again. There was no locker. There was no guys. So
weren't even set up yet.
We had to go through every piece. Whose is this? Whose is this? Oh. That's how you started numbering stuff.
Sure.
Whose is this? Who's this? It took us hours. So we go to this is New England again. We go to New England and same thing, right? We land in Providence. They go. Now the truck, I'm going, come on, hurry up. So the guy, they did the ramp, the loading belt. They put it right to the back of the truck. Well, the truck had a lift gate on it. So they put the lift gate all the way down. So now, okay, we're all loaded up. Let's go. Lift gate won't go up. All the hydraulic fluid got out of it. So they, now I got to wait. They get a forklift comes over, lifts it up about a foot off the ground. They chain it. So now we're driving. Now I'm going, come on, man, you got to hurry up. Coach Shula's waiting for you. They're watching film. He's going, don't worry, I'll get you there. And he's coming out. He's grinding the gears, right? He's grinding the gears, and he's trying to get me there really fast. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat of this truck. Big rear view mirror, right? Yeah, big side view mirror. And I'm looking, and this car's going, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Cars are flying out of the way, right?
Oh, man.
The drive shaft broke on the truck. And metal was flying back on these cars, and they were skidding off the road and shit. It was snow. So now all of a sudden the truck's like, and the truck stops on a highway in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like going through the snow and down the thing looking for a phone to get a pay phone. I'm trying to call Stu Weinstein on a pay phone or stadium. So we got towed. They got a tow truck to tow the truck to the stadium. And so all the players were happy because we didn't have to walk through it. I didn't have to get dressed.
You were a hero.
Yeah.
But Shula probably wasn't very happy.
Oh, he was pissed. Like I went down there with a sledgehammer and broke the drive shaft.
Right, you did this, right? I remember sometimes that Danny actually had to leave out of a stadium in the equipment truck.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. People be waiting by the bus for autographs. He was in the back with us.
eating whatever that the
we had
cheesesteaks.
right, whatever the
had a
food
nice
was.
little cooler set up.
And the
you know?
pouch. Did the pouch
No,
travel?
No, the pouch did not travel.
The pouch didn't make it on road games. So, you
I'm
talked
actually
about.
embarrassed by the pouch. I shouldn't have done that.
Well, you know what? Back then it was just guys being guys, but
was
nowadays,
flipping out guys.
yeah, it was. I was shocked, Seth. I came from church, from Penn State. I was at church. I've never seen anything like that before until until Bobby.
I never either. That's why I kept it. You won't believe this stuff.
And then it just kept growing, huh? Kept growing. That's bananas. So you mentioned Bo Camper and the Killer Bees, and I'm thinking about those early '80s guys, and then you shift into Danny's years and Dupe and Clayton. What was it like? We had both of those guys on, which was a lot of fun. They were unbelievable. But Mark talked about, he set so many fashion standards. I think, Juice is a wide receiver, and I always talk about the receivers. To me, the receivers are the NBA players of the NFL, and they always have to look a certain way and what have you. And Mark talked about the glasses, which I thought were a fashion statement, but he said came out of necessity from, Wilbur Marshall scratching his eye.
Yeah.
And we talked about the wristbands that I thought were cool, and he said that was because he didn't like getting the turf burns. Who was the biggest pain in the ass when it came to outfitting them?
Oh, wow.
A lot of them?
There's a bunch of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, a ton of them. Back then,
anytime really, but I just think
it
about
got worse
those
and
days.
worse, because
Sure.
I was one of the first guys to have a full-time seamstress in the equipment room. So when that happened, man, it was like tailoring the stuff and I don't know, man.
That was right. We were tailored up, man. It was like unbelievable.
So that person was in house.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember Tony tried to bring somebody in house.
Yeah, no, I did it both
Strafossi
places.
was shutting that down quick.
Yeah, I did it in Jacksonville first and then Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
So, but what was that? So, when Clayton says, I got my eye scratched, I need these glasses or I need these wristbands.
Just sport goggles like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar used to wear.
Sure.
Right.
And you just
like
whatever. It wasn't, was there ever a scenario where you were like, fuck you coming at me with?
No, not at all.
That's that was kind of your role.
If it was legal, we did it. If it wasn't legal, we tried to find a way to do it. You know what I mean? So
that's kind of like the beginning of the Shield. You know what I mean?
Right.
The players everybody kind of wears it now. But I think Clayton, he was kind of an innovator.
I got a picture of me spraying denture spray on Ronnie Lee's hands. He's standing there with his hand backwards like that. He sprayed denture spray on there.
Was that right?
Yeah, from the team dentist. It was like you could take a football and go like this and just hold it out.
Bobby, answer this. I mean, there's a lot of things that have been said about some of the hazing that goes on in the locker room. You don't have to mention any names, but what are some of the funniest shit you've seen hazing-wise, or not hazing, fun locker room type of stuff that you saw, over the years in the Dolphin locker rooms? I thought for the most part, some of the stuff was funny. Some of it was a little over the top, but some of the shit was just funny. I mean, I know I got taped up and thrown in the cold tub, in the new facility by about 5 or 6 dudes. I wanted to fuck them all up afterwards.
Yeah, a couple guys got taped to the goalpost outside.
Yeah.
One they taped one trainer to the chair and put him on the desk in the meeting room when Coach Shula walked in. He's sitting there like, let me think. I know one at the Jaguars I feel bad about. The rookies got to buy the donuts, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it got to be, the whole concept of it was the rookies had to go out, buy donuts, and bring them on Saturday morning for everybody, for the veterans. You had to buy a bunch of dozen donuts. So as we talked about earlier, the players got spoiled. Then it got to be where they wanted me to order the donuts. You know what I mean? So they just pay for them. So this one guy, one guy in Jacksonville, he was like, yeah, just go get the donuts, and he give me
like
the
that,
donuts.
like
Okay,
that,
all right. So I got the donuts delivered. I had them in the back room. Donuts didn't show up, man. What do you mean they didn't show up? They shaved his head. I had the fuckers in the back room.
And you had the donuts and the cash.
Yeah. I had the donuts and the cash. Shaved his head.
He said, I feel bad about this one. It doesn't look like he feels too badly
I'm
about
not feeling that bad. Then we used to put I used to put on there, remember the little thing in the training room, paraffin wax?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I used to put the Krispy Kremes in there, and then I'd write on a box, double glazed.
Right there. That shit was
guys,
straight wax. You know what I mean?
couldn't have gone down real well.
Double glazed.
It didn't come out well either, I'm sure. Some good old times. We had some good times in the locker room, Bob. And I know that,
man.
You feel the same way as I do, man. So we had so many really good teams that didn't get it done, man. And we had so many great guys in that locker room that didn't get it done, man. But we definitely had some good time. We have people actually talk about the podcast that maybe these guys had too much fun. Maybe that's why they didn't.
No, hell no, man. Them guys worked.
They did work their asses off, man.
That's why I tried to have a little bit of fun, because people actually see these players. They think they show up. Oh, they're playing a game. They're getting paid that money to play a game. You've seen after that game. You see guys on the plane going home or after a game. That ain't no game. Okay?
That was what was most telling to me when I started working in the league.
And then they think they show up there and run around and go home. I mean, you're all day in meetings, all day.
Yeah.
If you're stupid, you can't play football.
Correct.
In the pros, because you're gonna mess up everybody else. But they don't see what these guys put in. And back then, I mean, look at John Giesler. You know John Giesler?
Yeah.
This guy used to come to the Orange Bowl on crutches, right? They'd shoot his ass up, his knee, not his ass. They'd shoot his knee up. He'd play the game and leave on crutches.
Right.
That's the baddest man I ever seen in my life.
Right.
You know? I
Yeah,
mean, Dwight
man.
Stevenson. I was doing the water back then, right? His shoulder come out of the socket, right? Stayed in the game, threw Refrigerator Perry on his ass with one arm, and then come out of the game and popped it back in.
That's crazy.
that's-
I'm telling you, that
Dwight
man,
was a different kind of dude
that
from what
guy
I hear.
was
Grown man
scary,
right
man.
there. Yeah, buddy.
Scary.
And the nicest person
But then
off the field.
you look at it, and who'd he practice against every day? Bob Baumhouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I mean, come on, man.
That's a fair point.
Man, oh man. Yeah, good stuff, man.
So, Bobby, you talked about you did a 4-year sentence in Jacksonville.
Ugh.
What what went into the decision? You know, to go. I
Money.
guess. Okay, well, that's usually
Straight
a
up.
good decision maker.
Money. When I got the head job after the '84 Super Bowl, all right, you know, my pay was $16,500.
Wow.
16.5, and I loved it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
But I was, you know, every year we go to these meetings and you'd start seeing what other guys are making. So coach would be like, I'm going to see Mr. Robbie. You needed me to talk to him about anything. I said, nothing but my salary, coach. Here's the sheet what everybody else is making. So I'd get like $2,000 every year, you know? So then I got married. I had a kid and I'm making like, you know,
23.
$19,000. Come on. And then you couldn't get a contract. They wouldn't give me a contract, and I had to pay for my own health insurance. But if you had a contract, you got on the program, you know? And the difference was, I mean, I was paying $300-something, you know what I mean? It was,
Right.
and no car. So Jacksonville came in, and a guy that was coaching for the Jaguars, coached for my dad in New Jersey. And so he got to talk to me, and coach wouldn't give him permission to talk to me. But I went to coach. I said, Coach, let me at least hear what they're saying. I don't have a contract. You don't, you know, it's not, you can't stop them from talking to me. So they offered me like $25,000 more, a 2-year rollover, and a car, and
Right.
health
Done.
insurance. I had
And you
to,
could
man.
stay in state.
I
Did
wish
you
I
ask,
never
did you ask
did.
coach to match it? Can you match
I
this,
did.
coach?
I did, and the Robbies told me no.
Okay.
He goes, "Give me something realistic."
Really?
Realistic.
It's right here.
Yeah, this is,
That's what I said,
Right
man.
here, right in your face.
I said, "Give me half. Give me a little bit more." And
Right.
I said, I didn't want to go.
Right.
Who do want to leave there? I don't want to leave Dolphins.
how did Coach take that?
He was busy at Wimbledon.
Okay. That was the right time to go.
Great time.
But I read an article. I read it this morning. Charles Bricker of the Sun Sentinel wrote the
Charles
article.
Bricker, yeah.
But I read an article that I guess because you left and they were in their expansion year, they weren't playing games that for your
We
first
sat out
year.
here, yeah, getting it ready.
But you came down to a Dolphins game and they had you on the sidelines and the whole deal.
Actually, what it was, the Super Bowl was here that year. So I was working the visiting clubhouse. So I was working for my friend for the Chargers. There was a Chargers 49ers, wasn't it?
Correct.
Or something?
Yep.
So I was working for my friend the Chargers. Yeah.
They got blown out.
Coughlin got
blown
pissed.
out.
He got pissed that I was working for another team. I'm like, I'm not working for. I'm working for the league.
Need custom T-shirts made?
What about logo giveaways for trade shows or parties?
Wizard Creations will put your logo on anything and everything. So you got to find them at wizardcreations.com.
Yeah, the lowest prices around, what services available. Wizard puts your logo on everything.
And they really do, Juice. Luke Freeman, who is the wizard at Wizard, is an amazing guy. And if you have something that needs to be branded, Luke is the guy who will get it done. He's done our fish tank shirts that everybody's been asking for. We've worked with him at the Jason Taylor Foundation for years. There's nobody better than Luke Freeman and Wizard Creations.
Yeah, so for all your custom merch needs, call our friends at Wizard Creations at 888-217-4084. That's 888-217-4084. Also check them out at wizardcreations.com.
And when you do that, Luke said use the code FISHTANK. He's going to give you free setup and 10% off your first order. Free setup, 10% off. You're going to save some money and get great branded product. WizardCreations.com. If you're looking to buy or sell a vehicle, AutoNation is where you want to go. They are the largest auto retailer from coast to coast.
And their friendly and knowledgeable staff here in South Florida will help you save big on huge selections of new cars, trucks, SUVs, Toyota, Honda, Chevrolet, Mercedes-Benz, and much more.
Yeah, Juice, but if you're like me and you're looking to buy pre-owned, I got 186,000 miles on the Toyota right now. But if you're looking to buy pre-owned, you can shop AutoNation's huge selection of one-price pre-owned vehicles. They are all clearly marked with one price, their lowest price guaranteed.
Yeah, or if you just want to get rid of that old car,
I might need to.
Yeah, turn it into cash today, get top dollar offer and a check the same day. They'll buy your car with no purchase necessary.
And if your check engine light is on, I got that going on as well. Right now, get the services you need at low AutoNation prices. Oil changes, tires, batteries, and more, all for less.
Call or visit AutoNation.com to schedule your appointment today.
And if you are in the market for a new car, DM us at the Fish Tank 81 on Twitter. Hopefully you're already following us at the Fish Tank 81 on Twitter, and we will get your information to an AutoNation senior manager so they can reach out to you directly and walk you through the buying process.
So we talk about, Miami and Jayville and Cleveland a little bit, my hometown.
Cleveland's fun. That's a nice place, man.
Yeah, I love Cleveland, man. And in a couple leagues now. How about now? What are you doing now? I know you're with the XFL now. I know they don't kick off until
got
2020.
the shirt, Juice.
Yeah,
You got a
represent.
shirt? I didn't get a shirt.
You got them coming.
All right.
This one came in a bag of one.
Kicks off pretty much in 2020. So talk
February
about
2020. I'm the director of equipment for the XFL. So the league runs all the teams, all 8 teams. So we'll give each team equal stuff. So I'll do all the ordering, and we hired some good guys, good equipment guys, veterans. And
but it all is run at the top.
It's all run at the top. It's all paid for at the top, and we'll give each team equal of equipment and uniforms and all that kind of stuff, and then just work with them on that. But I think it's going to be great.
I think they've learned a lot from some of the other leagues. Obviously, the AAF just folded a little while ago, and then I know Vince McMahon's been in this game before.
Yeah, and it's documented on that 30 for 30 what some of the problems were, but it's nothing like that. Nothing.
Right.
It's not going to be
right. So you learn from that, and
it's going to be legit.
Right.
Football safety of the players,
right.
and the fan experience is the whole driving force of the whole thing. But just to bring up Danny, one of his famous quotes fits in here: "Money talks, but cash screams."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So between the AAF and the XFL, I mean, they're doing it right. We got some great people hired up top, some really, really smart people, big in the business. Oliver Luck is the commissioner.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's no joke. Doug Whaley.
Andrew
from
Luck's dad, yeah.
Doug Whaley?
Oh, okay.
Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah.
Doug Whaley?
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, it's funny. I mean, before we let you get out of here, Bobby, you talked about player safety. You can actually talk about the evolution of the safety, the equipment, all that stuff from the helmets, to where they are now. It's like night and day compared to what it was because of all the concerns with the head injuries and things like that.
Yeah, participation is dropping off because of the scare, but there's nothing ever is going to stop the brain from moving around in the skull, and that's what causes a concussion, Right. So there's some helmets out there that test out really well and everything, but guys are still getting concussions. And
right.
You could get a concussion falling on the ground or taking the biggest hit and walk away from it. It's an individual,
Right.
It's not it's not exact science, but there is a lot of improvements, and everybody's working towards getting improvements. I mean, the stuff we used to wear growing up, man.
Oh man, it's raggedy shit.
I remember putting stuff out for my dad when I was a kid. The freshmen had leather helmets still.
Right.
But see, if you take that off,
that's dating yourself right there.
I'm 62. I'll tell you right up. I don't care. I ain't lying.
Leather helmets.
Yeah. The evolution of the helmet, and the testing, that's the big thing. The testing is so advanced. Now you can tell rotational velocity, linear velocity of a hit, and you can start collecting data on this stuff. So it's not an infancy stage, but it's still working towards.
And how involved do you have to get in that process?
Well, you want to learn as much as you can about each helmet and make it, there's only a certain amount of helmets. It's so much, the liability is so much that there's not a lot of, you can't just say, hey, I want to make a new helmet and come out with it. I mean,
right.
The expense is ridiculous.
Right.
So there's, 6 different good helmets out there. So you try to give the player a choice. You have all of
and
those
be
available.
educated in what you're sharing.
You got to be
them.
educated in the data so you can tell them about it and you let them make a choice.
In your career, as you saw the progression of the helmet, and one of the things I noticed when, the helmet that you wore, and then I forget what that helmet was they brought in for a short period of time. And remember Jamie Nails, he had the thing split in half.
The old bike helmet.
Right.
It was supposed to be lighter.
Right.
But
and
when they got cold, it cracked.
And it split right in half. And I remember Tony trying to get guys to look into these different things, and you had the old school guys who just either they didn't like the way it looked, or so. Did you ever run into that where you just couldn't get a guy to make the change?
When the first helmets came out, the big ones, because what they did was increase the insides of it,
Mm-hmm.
And one thing people think is that the air, when they pump the helmet up with air, that's for fit. That's not for protection. Those helmets are tested with no air in them. So they test the same. So guys think they pump their helmet up real.
It's just to secure it on your head.
It's just to make it fit. Yeah. So they came out with that big helmet, the Revolution helmet.
Right.
And
the Revolution, that's the one.
And to this day, I tell guys when they come out with helmets, you got to go through the mirror test because these guys have put that thing on, look in the mirror. I'm not wearing that helmet. Man, I look like Gazoo.
Yeah.
And if one guy makes fun of him in the locker room,
it's over.
He'd rather get a concussion than get made fun of.
Yeah. I saw it happen.
It's true.
Guys take them off, man.
Tony would get so frustrated by that. And Trace Armstrong was on the team still, and he was involved in all the process. And I remember when Jamie's helmet broke, Trace is like, hey, the helmet did what it was supposed to do. That's better than his head breaking, the whole thing. And we're like, that fucking helmet broke on the field, Trace.
Right.
So good
Tony
luck
was
with
a
it.
student of it. Tony's a smart guy, man.
Yeah.
He studied. He knew everything about everything. And Joey's just the same.
No, those guys are the best. So I have one last equipment-related question. I say equipment in
I'm going to bring you
quotations.
XFL stuff.
No, I've already I've done that twice already.
Already
so
ready
we're
to
done.
drive back for that already, yeah.
But it's Zubaz.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Zubaz, and it's not quite equipment, but that was an unbelievable time where those things, and as Juice, I still have a pair of original Zubaz.
But
they're back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so talk about, was that a tough sell to guys, or did that just catch fire?
For my end of it was, Dan Johnson was from Minnesota, the tight end. Remember Dan Johnson?
Sure, yeah.
He was friends with Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom guys. Back then they were the Road Warriors.
The Road Warriors.
And he worked out at the gym with him. He grew up with them, and he was friends with the wrestlers. So the gym they worked out at was this guy, Dan Stock, and another guy, Bob Truax, who was friends with all those guys too. And they started out, there were weightlifting pants. So they started making those, and they started giving them to Dan Johnson. So they would come to the games and stuff. So for me, it was then they did a deal with Crash and Danny. Danny was doing advertising for him. But back then, the visiting clubhouse guys, the league or the teams wouldn't give them nothing. Mm. So when you came into a city, you would give the guys a T-shirt and a hat so they weren't wearing the other team stuff on your sideline.
Right.
So now they get NFL gear. But back then, it was like I would bring Dolphins Zubaz with me, shirts, hats, and pants. And I'd put them on the visiting club guys. So I tell them, I said, listen, I'll get you each team that's coming in here. Give me your schedule, and I'll have them sent to you. So every game, I had them sent in that visiting team's Zubaz they were wearing. So that, and then I started putting them in the inactive guys, and then we started wearing them, and we were just wearing them, and it just took off, man. But they had Danny advertising for them and stuff like that. But
that'll help.
Man, that was a craze. Absolutely, man.
I
the league. That's good stuff, man.
They were, and we had, like you said, I had them. I still have my pair of Zubaz, and as OJ knows, we did an underwater photo shoot when we started this podcast, and I'm rocking my Zubaz.
It was the infancy of NFL properties back then. Like the starter jackets. We started wearing the starter jackets on Monday Night Football and stuff like that. And then NFL went for the throat. They had to get a license.
Man, NFL started like becoming gangster on the sideline.
They buried more companies.
Yeah,
just drilled them in the ground.
They sure did.
And how much of that did you have to deal with?
You just had to make sure something was licensed to if you wore it on the sideline.
Yeah.
And then they would give you stuff to promote and whatever, but they didn't care if you were going out of business or whatever. It was like Goodfellas. Fuck you, pay me.
That's right.
You owe me money for this
They'll
license.
run you out. I was blown away when I first started working for the team, and I'd hang out in the equipment room, and you'd see, a guy, JT eventually when he was a Jordan guy, and they'd have to use the Sharpie, and they'd color, all the different things they would do to cover up the stuff that you never know sitting at home.
I drew more logos on shoes in the Super Bowl or the whole season because they came out with Pro Keds.
Yep.
And
Apex
and all that. So guys would wear Nikes and get their ankles taped over it, and I would draw the Puma. I draw more Puma ones.
Got a little art skills.
He did that for me a couple times. I finally got my Nike deal.
They were lined up, man.
Yeah, I get my Nike swoosh on there.
I did 15 guys a game.
Yeah.
We
get spat.
And you'd have to do it every game because it's just temporary.
The Super Bowl, this is before me. Leroy Harris. Remember Leroy Harris? He got paid by two companies and wore one shoe on one foot and one shoe on the other.
Come on. Wow. That's unbelievable. Well, Bobby, we appreciate you coming down, making the drive this morning to get down here. And when I tried to book him, Juice, he's like, well, I got XFL and I'm flying to Tampa and then 3 days here and I'm going here and whatever. And we had to plan this thing, 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
We appreciate you making the time.
I'm going to St. Louis Friday.
See, he's on his way going to the next place. I got one last little story. So Bobby, years later, started working with the foundation. We had something going on and Bobby reached out and he said, hey, JT's got this thing and I want to come out, whatever. And what do we need? And I said, well, Bobby, everybody's paying extra. He goes, hey, we ain't everybody. That's why I was like, I forgot for a minute who I was talking. We ain't everybody. So, man, it was really a pleasure having you in here, Bobby.
It was fun, man. I'd have walked down here for you guys.
Yeah, thanks for diving in, Bobby, man.
You're now diving into the fish tank.
Dive up in that fish tank. Who that? Sitting down with Seth Living, OJ, Juice Man. Ooh, and this is strictly for them true fans, Dolphins. Number one. Of course, y'all. This ain't no ordinary sports talk. Dive up in that fish tank. Go get your aqua orange. Yeah, it's time to dive up in that fish tank. It's only legendary talking when you dive up in that fish tank. Rockin' with OJ and Seth when we dive up in that fish tank. Fans with attitude, we gotta dive up in that fish tank. Celebrate big or cry hard. Leave it all on the field, we gon' try hard. Old school, a new school, mix it in. Feeling like we up close when we listening. Dolphins tales, in Miami is the deep end. We vibing with our favorite players, no secret. We get with Seth and McDuffie, bringing up stories we never heard to the public. Bet we love it, Dolphins fans never budging. We loyal to the team, whether happy or we upset. We be like, what's next? Don't switch the subject, you know it's all about them fins. And if you ready for that water, time to dive in. Don't switch the subject, you know it's all about them fins. And if you down with Dolphins Nation, time to dive in. Don't switch the subject, you know it's all about them fins. You looking at that fish tank, it's time to dive in that fish tank. Go get your aqua orange, yeah, it's time to dive up in that fish tank. It's only legendary talking when you dive up in that fish tank. Rockin' with OJ and Seth when you dive up in that fish tank.